Welcome to Closer to Venus. I'm Johnny Burke, and today's guest is Tricia Sybersma. She is an author, certified HeartMath trainer, and founder of HeartWorks, a collective that utilizes animal collaborators to channel healing and intention through their art. In this episode, we'll explore how science, energy, animals, and art equals transformation and change, and how each of these forces show up in our daily lives through HeartWorks. Tricia, welcome to the program.
Oh, wow. I'm so pleased and excited to be here.
Being excited is always good. You are a HeartMath trainer. So what is the connection between HeartMath and heart coherence?
All right. Well, the HeartMath system is techniques to create heart-brain coherence in the moment, eyes open. They have a number of foundational, quick and easy techniques to help people shift. And they also have deeper studies into their techniques and practices. But it is designed to shift as life's happening.
Now, the HeartMath, heart coherence, and so forth is something that we're hearing a lot about lately. Does it have anything to do with how the energy from the heart is several hundred times more powerful than that of the mind?
Yes, and it also has a lot to do with what they can prove now scientifically, that the heart is sending more information out to the brain and the body than the brain is sending down into the heart and body. So they can scientifically prove now that it's reversed, that the heart is really the one in charge.
The heart.
Yes.
It's called the heart for a reason.
Yes, yes. And personally, I like to call it also a portal. And the mind is rests somewhere in between. So you have your heart, you have your brain, and the mind is a place where those two start to merge and involve our feelings and emotions.
So how did you get started with HeartWorks? What was the inspiration?
Well, before coming on, I did listen to some of your other podcasts, and they were wonderful. So I'm going to lay it out there.
Sure.
There's a movie called The Holiday where Cameron Diaz plays a trailer writer. And all through the movie, she stops and her trailers start playing in her head. That is what happened to me. I was sitting on an airplane. I wasn't thinking about the horses at all. And wham, they came in and explained everything. And I just started typing out the notes and notes and more notes. And then as soon as we landed, I sent it to my support people. And we just didn't even question it. We were just like, absolutely, let's do this.
Animals are, I guess, a lot more powerful than most people think, it sounds like.
Oh, yeah, there's a lot going on with animals. Some people say to me, I've been working with horses for a long time in a lot of different ways, from traditional training to natural horsemanship to rescuing. People would always say to me, well, they don't have a frontal cortex. And then I say back, because they don't need one. They're connected. Our frontal cortex is what gets in the way. I think that's part of our journey to train our frontal cortex. But the horses, they not only act as their individual horse beings, but they're also part of a collective. And so when they dropped this HeartWorks into my knowing, they were speaking to me as a collective. So they can speak individually and as a group consciousness.
Have you ever had experiences in channeling before you started HeartWorks?
Yes. We all begin this journey channeling, and then through our experiences, and maybe it's a teacher, it slowly starts to, we shut it down often. I never did. I was always that young kid in the playground who always believed that there were magical beings around me, and I could sense and see that there was just more happening. And then as I got older, my life took its twists and turns. Nature started to channel to me during recovery from some really challenging events. And they taught me about seasons, they taught me about the cycle of life, they taught me a lot about gratitude. And then from there, as I opened and trusted, I could really sense what the animals were saying to me. And it is more of a sense. Sometimes it's words, sometimes it's a feeling, and sometimes it's just a real inner knowing. And HeartMath actually addressed the ways that we perceive intuition And this way is called non-local, which means you really don't know where it's coming from, but you feel the truth of it.
So when you talk about channeling, if you were to compare channeling with animals to channeling, let's say, star beings, is that as easy for you to get your head around or not necessarily?
Yeah, easy. It's like turning a radio dial. Animals are over here in this radio frequency, and it's all frequency.
It's all frequency.
Yep. And so they just have a different feel. And within that animal channel, each of my 4 mares, my mare horses, female horses, they all have a different feel. So I know who it is by how they feel. Is it bossy? So that must be Sophie. Is it really warm and grounded? That must be Gwen. Is it cosmic? Then that's Phoenix. And you can see how my expressions change as I talk about them. Within even the way they speak to me, there's nuances.
Since you've channeled with animals, have you channeled any other beings besides the horses? And I know there's more. I think there's cats and dogs as well.
There's, 1 cat and 1 dog. Yeah. Trees, plants, different insects, different like nature being, moss. I love talking to moss. Fireflies. Occasionally I have ongoing conversations with, you can call them guides, you can call them celestial beings, angelics. There's a lot of activity out there just waiting to connect with us.
So when you say celestial beings, angels, and those type of beings, do you actually get a visual of them or not really?
I get an inner sight of them, which is just beautiful lights. They have form, and it's like a body, like a humanoid sort of form, but very luminescent. I just want to just pivot to trees just quickly. The most beautiful thing I heard about trees, and I've experienced this, trees wear bark because they want to be with us. If we saw trees in their essence, in their energy essence form, we wouldn't be able to stand under them or be near them because their radiance is too much for our human, third-dimensional biology. So they chose to put bark on so they could be in our backyards and they could be in our playgrounds and be in our parks, and we can hug them and touch them and sit under them. And I experienced that charge when I put my hands on them.
So Mother Earth really is alive, obviously. It sounds like it. Great. So what was it that made you realize that these animals can be collaborators in what you call spiritual transformation?
Well, horses have been in therapy since the 1600s. 1600s, if you Google...
Therapy?
Yes. Yes. If you Google, when did horse therapy become a thing? As far back as the 600, 600, there's documentation on how they used horses, probably mostly for physical rehabilitation. However, biologically, horses in particular, their heart emits an electromagnetic energy that's 5 times greater than a person. So sometimes when people express to me that they're afraid of horses, I often wonder, and I talk to them about it, is it the horse or is it this wave of heart energy they're feeling? And when you don't understand something, sometimes your default is to be afraid of it. Because just standing near a horse, you are surrounded and embraced by heart energy. You just are.
It sounds like it.
Because they emit 5 times stronger than we do. So that positions them really well. They also like to co-regulate. Their natural state is to be coherent. And if they're in the presence of a human who's not coherent, they will use their heart energy to calm, soothe, and bring that other person into coherence. Being a prey animal, which means they're hunted, they're very aware of their energy, and that results in not wanting to spend any extra energy that they don't have to dealing with someone who is in fight or flight. So they want to shift that person so then they're more comfortable and they can then save their energy.
It sounds to me like the animals are not only good at channeling and directing heart energy, as you say, but they're also very, very intelligent.
Well, you might be preaching to the converted over here, but yes,
Okay.
I feel that they're very intelligent and they have their individual intelligence. But again, They are connected to the field. They're connected to the collective. They don't have an ego in there saying, is this really, they're not being challenged. They just know.
When you say the field, are you talking about astral planes or the energy field that surrounds us, or what exactly is that?
I think it's related. The energy field, starting down in the atom level, atoms are more wave or energy than particle. And if we're made up of atoms, then every one of our cells is more energy than actual biological particles. And that energy is talking to each other.
Okay. These animals, I believe they're horses and a cat and a dog, they actually create artwork.
Mm-hmm.
How does that actually happen?
I will say that everything is done with permission. As soon as this came through, the first thing we did is we used channeling plus biofeedback technology to ask each of the animals who wanted to participate. And we ask them every time we paint, because permission is really important for me and for them. So we will sometimes paint in theme. Sometimes we choose the theme. Sometimes they choose the theme. We bring them into the barn. We clear the barn's energy. We prepare their painting space. They paint without ropes, halters, no bribing. They get excited, ears forward. Remember, they told me how they wanted to do it, so I'm just following what they already suggested. We didn't have to train them. The first time we had to figure out how to prepare their space, but they already knew what they were doing. They use their mouth. We do cover the surface with food-grade plastic so they don't get paint in their mouth, but they use their lips. Horses' lips are like fingers. That's why you hear stories about them opening gates, and they can open doors and they can get into things that they shouldn't, because their lips are just like fingers. They're very flexible and they have a lot of control over how to use them. They can undo clips, they can undo zippers. They're really clever that way.
The animals are actually doing the painting then, which is pretty incredible. For those of you that are listening to the audio-only version, I'm going to ask Tricia about the painting behind her. At some point, we'll put out some of the shorts that'll show this, but that painting behind you, was that actually done by one of your animals?
Yes, this is a painting by Scout, and it is his gratitude painting. And actually, it's two scarves hanging side by side. We digitize the paintings, and then we make them wearable so that you can have them with you.
The animals actually do the painting. They actually know what the theme is or what they're actually trying to do. How does the HeartMath system and the heart-brain coherence, how does that help us open the doors to deeper levels of consciousness? How does that work?
I'm getting little horse bumps. I really love that. I really love that question. And it's not a coincidence that paintings are called HeartWorks, and I am very involved with HeartMath. Once you start practicing heart-brain coherence, once you start connecting to your heart in that way, you shift out of fight, flight. You gain access to the centers of your brain. There is a lot going on up there in terms of the electrochemical nature of our brain as a transmitter. So once your heart sends the signal to your brain to say, we're safe, it's safe, we can open up, then you have access to not only information about yourself, but also access to information surrounding you. We'll say the field again. You're really ramping up your antenna on your radio.
This field that you're talking about, is that in any way connected or similar to, let's say, the Akashic records?
The Akashic records are records where the field is dynamic and ever-changing. The information in the field is now. It's not a record of what's happened. It's happening in real time.
So it is similar or not really?
There's probably a lot of opinions out there. Like record as in a filing cabinet. So it's storing, it's like history.
Like the records, right, exactly. Yeah, that's what I thought.
When you tap into, when you open up your intuition and your imagination, your ability to receive information, you're receiving information that's happening right now. I know the horses are listening to us.
Well, good.
I can feel them. They're kind of snickering a little. Oh, you humans, you humans.
Are they saying, you silly humans, but it's a good thing you're on closer to Venus, I hope. Okay. So the paintings, speaking of which, and you have wearable items and you describe them as intention fused, I believe. What does that exactly mean?
One of the things they wanted to do, because there's other animals that paint, and this is happening whenever anybody creates something, their energy is in what they've created. It just is. So the animals are rescued animals. They've all overcome certain challenges in their journey. And so they wanted to share those survivor energies with others and infuse it into what they're creating.
What would you say is the closest thing or practice to Heartworks and what you're doing with the animals and the art? Is there anything else out there that's actually like that?
The first thing that comes to mind is if you do have animals in your life, to look at them a little differently, to consider there's way more going on there than what we sense at the surface. I love to send gratitude. So to even look at the dog or cat or salamander or whatever you have, fish, just say thank you. I know there's more. Show me more. Ask them to show you more. And maybe you might get an insight. You might get a dream. You might get something happen. Maybe not today, maybe a week into the future, something might happen and you'll go, wow, that was you, right? And so invite them into your transformation journey with your hands on them and as you care for them. Because another layer of this is to talk about animal welfare, right? And I've always been a huge spokesperson for that, and to really take care of the other beings we share the planet with.
The link between the animals and the nature and remembering who we really are. So your practice and what you're doing with the animals, how does that actually help us to do that?
Yes, so I want to say a lot.
Do it.
When we're listening in gratitude with an open heart, as humans, it's hard for us to multitask, right? So when we're sitting in that curiosity, we can't be judgmental and curious at the same time. They're actually kind of opposites, right?
It's a very good point.
And so shifting from seeing the world from lenses of criticism or competition or being judgmental or assuming, instead of that, shifting into curiosity and looking beyond what's right in front of us, like an animal would do, because they're reading the energy we're putting out and comparing it to our expressions and the tone of our voice. And that's the thing, like we can't hide how we're really feeling from animals. They see right through it. So spending more time in that place will then shift our baseline of how we are apt to think into a more positive place. So the next time something we see, a headline, we see something or hear a comment that we would normally drop into judgment or even anger about, all of a sudden it's like, I'm just going to be curious about that. And HeartMath teaches this too. HeartMath actually teaches our human superpower is we can choose how we feel. We've been led to believe otherwise. We can actually be in a situation where we're having a lower vibrational emotional experience and know it's not helping anybody. And in that moment, we can choose to be neutral. We can choose to be more understanding. We can choose to be a better listener. With a couple of awareness breaths, you shift right into that place. And as long as we generate it in the heart, sends the message to the brain, and the brain has to follow the heart's message. Trouble is, we're not sending enough messages up there regularly. But when we get good at it and we send that message to the brain and the body responds, and then we become more compassionate, better listeners, more curious, instead of the other way of being.
So in layman's terms, your point about how we should be sending more messages to the heart instead of the heart sending more messages to the brain, how do we actually do that?
By breathing in and out of your heart space and deciding, I am going to bring in patience and feel it in your heart. Feel the energy of patience and trust that. And then it will do its own thing. And it will generate and it will radiate through our bodies, sending those signals out to our brain, to our nervous system, that we are now following the directive of being patient. You can change a whole room of people by doing that without saying a word. Because all of a sudden, maybe we were sitting there radiating orange, but now we're radiating green.
Or purple.
Yeah.
Something like that. Right.
This. Yeah.
Okay. So it's worthwhile for us, whether we are around animals or not, to try to breathe from the heart?
Heart focused breathing. It's an actual technique, a HeartMath foundational technique.
It sounds to me like we're going to be hearing a lot more about heart math and heart coherence, but you also believe that HeartWorks can help people reconnect with the soul purpose or even a past life residence. Is that true?
Yes, yes. Animals, just by being animals, can sometimes do more for us than another person because we have attachments to what people represent.
Could that explain why some people literally have signs in their offices saying, I prefer animals and I'll tolerate humans, right?
Oh, yeah. I would say so.
All right.
Because the animals know, like the animals are unconditional love. They are. We have the potential to be.
Now, speaking of past life resonance, do you have any experience with that yourself?
I know that I have traveled with my horses through lifetime.
Okay. Do you have the actual memories then?
One in particular, so I do live partially in the Caribbean, and I moved this horse from the Caribbean up to Canada. First winter in an arena, snow was falling off the roof. She lost her mind, and everything I knew to do didn't have a lasting calming effect. So I talked to one of my animal communicators, one of my mentors, and to find out how she was perceiving the situation so we could help her. And she told us plainly, we were here, we were in a battle, there was shrapnel falling from the sky, and I was just trying to save you. So when you change locations, you can trigger different timelines. So her moving from the Caribbean to Canada triggered a timeline that rose up with the sound of the snow falling off the arena roof. She was reliving that again. And so we were able then to say thank you, right? Always thank you. We are here now. This is current. We're not in battle. And so we were able to use a different languaging to help her through the physical memory of being in that situation.
And it's not the first time I've heard stories, or should I say accounts, of animals reincarnating with their, I don't want to say owners, but in other words,
They're humans.
Right, with their humans. So what are the most important things that we can take away from your experience with the art and the animals and the channeling and so forth?
They have a message for me to share about that. This is what they wanted me to share. You look at us horses in wonder and awe, but we are just horses. Look in the mirror. You are human. We have come through at this time and in this way as a catalyst to invite you to open your hearts and see each other with the same wonder and awe in which you see us. Our energy expressions are here to help and support your heart opening in love and gratitude. The heart.
Unconditional love.
Yep.
Excellent. Tricia, very, very cool stuff. Thanks for joining us tonight. We're going to be hearing a lot more about HeartWorks and HeartMath and Heart Coherence in the future. So in the meantime, how can our listeners find you online?
Heartworks.horse.
Okay. Instagram as well?
Same. Our YouTube channel is fantastic. There's lots of videos of them painting on there. There's meditations with them, and Instagram is very active. We pretty much upload different videos of them being horses and also profound messages.
You've been listening to Closer to Venus. I'm Johnny Burke. If you enjoyed today's episode, please consider subscribing. In the meantime, you can find more information on closertovenus.com. Thanks again for tuning in. We'll see you next time.